Here comes the money. You're now listening to the Gambling with Gold podcast with Jason Gold. Presented by Champions Round.
What is going on? My name is Jason Gold. This is Dan Titus. We are here to talk about all the NFL futures that you need to be betting on right now before we head into the season. We are 2 weeks away from the Hall of Fame game. Dan, how we doing on this Monday, July 18th?
Doing great, man. Just trying to get ready for the season, man. I finally got a break from NBA now that the summer league's over. So now it's like full throttle NFL props and divisionals, conference championships, all this stuff. So yeah, man, this is a great season. Love NFL preseason.
So last week we got a little taste. I had my first draft, so Scott Fishbowl obviously kicked off for fantasy, and then we had our FSGA draft for fantasy also. And then at the end of the week, I put Steffi Smalls on the case for our props sportsbook league with FSGA. We'll talk about those bets that she made a little bit later. Break some of them down. I may be giving her a little shit on some of the ones that she took over for me, but she did make some really nice picks. But it'll be good content regardless. Let's start off the top. I want to go through the teams that we think that we can win the Super Bowl this year for people that are thinking about maybe they go to Vegas over the summer before the season starts. They want to put some money down on a future for a team to win the Super Bowl. I don't want them putting some slapdick money on the Houston Texans to win the Super Bowl at plus 10 million. Ain't going to happen. Let's give them some realistic teams that can win the Super Bowl this year. I'm going to read through the list that I have from DraftKings right now. Basically just yes or no, can they win the Super Bowl this year? Maybe a little bit of a reason why. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Buffalo Bills plus 600. Yes from me.
Yes for me. I mean, I don't think we need to talk too much about that. Josh Allen probably going to be in the running for MVP. This team got better. They replaced their wide receivers with better ones in Jamison Crowder. Gabe Davis is about to go off. And then they drafted James Cook. So I think this team offensively got a lot better, and they didn't lose anything on defense. So I think that they could certainly make a case for a championship this year.
Yeah, I like Khalil Shakir a lot. Also, talk about him maybe a little bit later as a Rookie of the Year candidate. Love their coaching staff, love their continuity. Bringing in a guy like Von Miller on the defense is going to do wonders for them. I love their first-round cornerback, Kyrie Elam. Certainly a place that they needed to upgrade as well. Think that they did well in the draft. Certainly well-positioned to be a favorite coming into this season. A couple other ones off the top of the board. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at plus 700. I think that obviously they can win. They have Tom Brady, but I don't feel as good about them as I do some teams down the board. And considering that they're the second favorite right now, I'm actually a little surprised to see them at plus 700.
Yeah, I don't know why they're there. I'm not going to put my money on Tampa Bay just because I have questions about the rehabilitation of Chris Godwin and where that's at. Tom Brady obviously lost Gronk, so it seems like he's officially retired. But, I think that there's too much – there's not a lot of improvement on this Tampa Bay team outside of, re-signing actually, not a re-sign of Leonard Fournette. They give him more money. But either way, their offensive line questions still continue going into this season. And so, I think we can expect some regression out of the Tampa Bay Bucks. Just the good thing about them is that they're in a really bad division. So I could see them still making the playoffs, obviously, and they're going to probably be a 10-win team. But, I don't see them getting out of the NFC here once it comes playoff time.
I have serious questions about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. And I'm a little worried about Tom Brady, the guy who retires and then unretires. I know there was a lot going on behind the scenes. It just doesn't seem like I just don't get the vibes. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like everyone's on the same page there in Tampa Bay. They have a lot of issues on the offensive line. Chris Godwin, don't know when he's going to be back. Mike Evans will still be great, but we don't know what's the tight end. The running back situation, okay, Fournette's been really good for them, but their offensive line is now way worse. Is he now going to be more like he was in Jacksonville, and he's going to be a drain on your team instead of an addition? I don't know. So we're going to talk about season long player props a little bit later, but I might as well throw up my favorite one on the board right now. Tom Brady under 4,650.5 passing yards. I know he led the league last year. I know he's gone over this in his first 2 years in Tampa Bay. However, the first year, he barely cracked over this. I think this team's going to have to lean on their running a little bit more. I don't love the receivers as much. Obviously, they lost Gronk, and we don't know what to do with Godwin is. No AB anymore. We're all high on Russell Gage this year and think he'll do well. I have serious questions about Tampa Bay this year. Let's remember, guy's 45 years old. At some point, the wheels are going to fall off a little bit. I don't think he's going to throw for another 5,300 yards this year. And he has a little bit more conservative coach in Todd Bowles. I know Bruce Arians not being there is going to probably bring down their passing yardage a little bit. So Tom Brady under 4,650.5 passing yards, probably my best season-long prop of the season.
I don't. It's hard for me to bet against Brady, no matter what his age is or what the situation is. Like, I think he's done more with less in the past, but stay away from me. But I understand where your angle is coming from.
All right, let's get to a couple of these other ones on the board. Green Bay Packers plus 1,000, Chiefs plus 1,000, Rams plus 1,100, and Chargers plus 1,400. I don't think that the Packers can win the Super Bowl this year. The other three, sure. The Rams can go back-to-back. They're certainly talented enough. I wouldn't bet on it. Wouldn't be my favorite one, just because going back-to-back is so impossible. Chargers at plus 1,400. You're probably losing some value there at this point, but because they're just so hot in the market right now. But between Staley, who I love as a head coach, who I think will be a lot better in year 2, having learned all the experiences from year 1, the additions that they made on the defense, and Herbert in year 3, obviously is an MVP candidate. I think they're primed for a big-time run this year. And the Chiefs, yeah, they lost Tyreek Hill, but they still have the best quarterback in the NFL. So, yes, they can absolutely win the Super Bowl this season.
I agree with you. I'm not a believer in the Packers, only because I don't know what the offense is really going to look like. I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to give them they're definitely going to make them sweat this year. I think the Vikings are going to be a lot better. So to just assume that there's going to be an easy path to the Super Bowl for the Packers, I think we got to pump the brakes there. On the Rams, there not much has changed. You know, they lost their offensive coordinator, who's now with the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm expecting some regression from Cooper Kupp. I don't think he's going to be the Triple Crown winner that he was last year, but this team is certainly still poised to make a run for it. So I like the odds on the Rams. Chargers, I'm with you. I think Staley's going to have to learn from a lot of the mistakes he made last year. Very aggressive on 4th down, probably overly aggressive. Dial that back a little bit more, play a little bit smarter. They beefed up their defense. Their offensive line is already stellar. They already have the weapons on offense with a potential QB that can win the MVP. So I'm all in on the Chargers as well. I think that's a good bet. Agree with you that you may be able to find better value throughout the season with them, just because, you know, they're in a tough division. So, you know, I think some of these better teams, you know, I mean, honestly, all 4 of the teams in that division could probably go to the Super Bowl. But it's just going to have to see like how it shakes out in the divisional matchups. But I really like the Chargers. And then same goes for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's hard to bet against Mahomes. They, you know, barely skated by to get to the AFC Championship game, or sorry, to get to the to get past the Bills there. But, you know, I don't know if you can replicate that, but I don't think that Tyreek Hill, they're certainly going to miss him. But, you know, they tooled up with MVS. They have Juju Smith-Schuster. They have plenty of weapons around that Patrick Mahomes can throw to. My question mark is really in the running back room. We haven't seen a lot out of Ronald Jones. CEH, who knows what we're going to get out of him? I think he's more of a scat back now. So can they generate enough run game to sustain that passing offense? I think they'll figure it out. Andy Reid's a good head coach. They already have a Super Bowl ring. I'd bet on the Chiefs as well.
Yeah, and also, look, their offensive line is obviously a lot better than 2 years ago. It was good enough last year. It got it done. You can find any running back to come in off the street. If one of those 2 guys goes down, that can be relatively productive. I mean, you saw what guys like Dante Foreman did last year, who can come in and, you know, rush for $150 in a game. So it's just about a matter of commitment and who you're playing defensively and how well your offensive line is playing. So that doesn't concern me all too much. Definitely like the Chiefs' chances this year, but at a plus 1,000, I think there are probably better bets on the board. I wanted to mention one thing that you said on the Chargers that was really interesting. Can you get better value on them later in the season? There's a lot of these teams that you're going to be able to, and I think Warren Sharp makes this point really well. Look at their schedules. If they have an easy schedule, yeah, you might want to grab the number now. If it's tough early on, but you still really like the team, maybe wait a little bit. The Chargers, I had the same thought. It was like plus 1,400. They're the 6th favorite. I feel like I'm going to get a plus 2,000 at some point during the season.
Right.
Okay, so go look at their schedule. Go look at week 1. Okay, they're home to the Raiders. We think that the Chargers are a better team than the Raiders, but okay, so probably 1-0. Then they go to Kansas City. Call that a loss because it's Thursday night. Then they have the Jaguars, the Texans, the Browns without Deshaun Watson. Then they play the Broncos, tough game. And then they have the Seahawks and the Falcons. This team is going to start like 6-2. I don't know if there is value in waiting. I had the same idea, but given the fact that what I just read, I don't know. Maybe that 1,400 is the right number. I'm a little confused on what to do there in terms of getting the best number in the market.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great you pose a great question because I think I probably should have said at the onset. Obviously, strength of schedule matters. Take a look at see where the opportunities are to get. If there's an early part of the schedule for the better teams, jump on that now because then as the season wears on, they might see some losses and you'll lose that value. I think that 6-2 to start the season for the Chargers sounds right. There's always going to be surprises, of course, but I think in terms of the Chargers, it probably does make sense to buy now and then see how that, maybe that can maybe you can have a cash out opportunity through those first 8 games or, see it through and potentially you have the best value on the board because you grabbed it so early. But, I think that you could say if you think the Broncos and Russell Wilson are going to be that good, I think they have a pretty tough schedule to start off as well as the Chiefs. So maybe you wait on those types of teams and then buy later.
Let me see what the Broncos schedule looks like to start off because another team. So they're plus 1,600, a little bit down market here. Plus 1,600 tied with the 49ers. That's our next batch of teams. I definitely think that both of those teams can win the Super Bowl. Broncos for sure. They definitely have the talent. Just a matter of how Wilson is integrated. I still think they're the third best team in that division, but wouldn't be surprised if they play really well. Also, let's see what their new head coach has going on. He's never been a head coach before, so something to watch out for. And the 49ers, I mean, we're back to the same shit. It's all, can they stay healthy, and what is Trey Lance? And if Trey Lance isn't there, what does Jimmy G give you? So I don't know, but I'm not going to bet against Kyle Shanahan. The guy's a fucking genius.
He's gotten there numerous times over the last several years, and to me, it's a stay away for now just because I don't know what that QB situation looks like. Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the team. He's apparently getting healthier. He's throwing already in practice. So are we ushering in the Trey Lance era too early? I think he's going to end up being the quarterback by week 1. But until that happens, I really can't make a move on the Niners without that. And plus, Debo is still not happy. So if you have your star player that still is waiting for his magical bag that he wants, a lot of volatility on this team heading into the season. So I say that to say if this is still a QB carousel by week 1, maybe there's going to be some time you can buy the Niners as the season progresses as well. But I think that their division is a lot weaker than it was last year. Russell Wilson's gone, so the Seahawks are a shell of what they used to be. And the Arizona Cardinals, we know we love to fade Cliff Kingsbury, but their team is also a disaster. So it's really just the Rams and them. So I can't really discount them. But, I think right now buying into them is a little bit too premature for me.
All right, I have 2 more. You know what? I'm just going to read through the rest of the list. You tell me teams that you think cannot win the Super Bowl here. Dallas, yes or no?
No, they can't.
Okay, I'm out on them too. Ravens, I think we both talked about. We think they're a big bounce back for the Ravens. I definitely think the Ravens can win the Super Bowl this year. Bengals, I would say yes if everything breaks right. I would generally think that they're going to have a little regression this year. But Burrow's kind of maybe in that Brady mode where you're just never going to count them out. They can definitely win the Super Bowl. Indianapolis Colts, I would probably say no.
Yeah, I lean no. Yeah.
I like Matt Ryan, but is Matt Ryan going through every quarterback in the AFC?
Yeah, that's tough sledding, man. Like they're like, I probably put them as like 6th, 5th or 6th right now in the division, and they're not even close to the top tier of those the real teams that are going to be competing for the championship.
The AFC's just still got. You're going to have to go through Herbert, Mahomes, Allen, all of these guys, and like they all have to Russell Wilson. They all have to go through each other. Unless the Colts get some sort of break like the Bengals got last year, where that basically they only have to win 1 game versus an elite quarterback. But I don't know. Tough sledding. Eagles plus 2,500. I think both you and I are high on the Eagles. I don't know if they can win a Super Bowl, but at plus 2,500 midway through the board, I think there's probably decent value there on them to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I have them winning the division. So if they can get the right playoff setup, I certainly think that they can make a run to get there.
Okay, now I'm at the part of this where I don't think any of the teams can win the Super Bowl. I think this might be the last team, but it obviously depends on the suspension. This is Deshaun Watson if he's playing, they could definitely win a Super Bowl. But 30-1 plus 3,000 on the Browns. After that, it's the Titans, no. Cardinals, no. Raiders at 40-1. I mean, maybe if everything breaks right, but probably not. They're the fourth best team in their division.
Yeah, but they could also still surprise, though. I mean, I think Derek Carr for MVP and or leading the league in passing yards is very compelling because of the addition of Devontae Adams. Like, as much as you want to, I don't know, Derek Carr's just always been one of those guys that like has never been popular. Although he continues to go to work, like he has multiple 4,000-yard seasons. He's never had a receiver as good as Devontae Adams. I don't have a great amount of trust in their run game. Like, they didn't re-sign Josh Jacobs, but I think that they're ready to sling the rock. And Derek Carr is a good quarterback. He doesn't take a lot of risks. His interceptions have been down. He still needs to chill out with the fumbling because he's got those small hands. And I don't know why. He just keeps on putting the ball on the ground there. But I don't know, man. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're the dark horse that actually surprises in this division. And maybe we see the Chargers dial it back a little bit. That's just going to be a really tough division, man. I have no idea what can happen, but they're all, I mean, those could be like top 5 teams in the AFC, but it can't happen just because they're all in the same division. But talent wise, it's definitely there.
Let's go down the list a little bit more. Dolphins. I like Mike McDaniel a lot. 2 ain't winning a fucking Super Bowl, so that's out. Saints plus 40. The Saints plus 4,500. They have the defense to do it. I don't believe in Jameis or some of those offensive pieces. We don't know if Kamara is going to get suspended. I don't know what to think about Dennis Allen, so I'm probably out on that. Minnesota plus 4,500. Do I think that Kirk Cousins can win a Super Bowl? No. Do I think there's value at 45-1 on the Vikings right now? You're goddamn right I do. I would bet that number at plus 4,500.
I'm with you. I'm high on Justin Jefferson this year, Dalvin Cook, all the skill positions for the Minnesota Vikings. Their defense, while they're losing the pedigree of Mike Zimmer, I think that they're changing direction and going more offensive minded is certainly the way to go. And I think they can certainly compete for a title this year.
Patriots plus 5,000? No. Commanders plus 7,000? No. Steelers plus 9,000? Steelers plus 9,000? Probably not. Although I love that defense enough where maybe you can make a case to convince me, but Trubisky, Pickett, there's no way. There's no way in the AFC.
Their offensive line isn't good enough to hold up for the long term, despite how favorable their strength of schedule is, and the fact that they don't have to travel much. I think that's certainly they're gonna steal some victories there. But going the long term view, I don't think they're gonna hold up.
Like, do I think that number at some point during the season will be less than plus 9,000? Yeah, I do. I think there's a chance they have a good little run in them, but I'm not trying to fade or buy after I get a better value there. But I'm not trading that ticket in the market. What am I going to go on, like prop swap and go give out my 90-1? Who the fuck's buying my 90-1 ticket on the Steelers? Not happening. So there's no value.
When they start out 5-0, then you get rid of it.
Yeah. I just don't know if there's any value created in the market by doing that. Giants plus 13,000. Look, I think the Giants can have a much better season. I'd probably take a lot of their overs on futures, but they ain't winning a Super Bowl. Panthers, no. Jaguars, no. Jets, no, but at least they're compelling. I mean, led by Mr. Milf Hunter himself, having a fucking time out there. Lions plus 15,000. I mean, I would love to see Dan Campbell win a Super Bowl. That would be awesome. He's going to have a lion bite off his left arm. Yeah. Seattle, no. Chicago, no. Atlanta, no. Houston, no. So I think we're at it. I don't know how many teams we just thought that could win the Super Bowl, but it's not a lot.
No. It's really just the top, probably the top 8 teams I think are the most interesting. And by design, those are the odds-on favorites. But I think there's certainly going to be value on some of these teams as the season wears on. Injuries happen, of course, situational changes, contract disputes, all that stuff kind of weighs into these predictions here. So it's going to be interesting once it comes to week 1, how this all shakes out. But I think the ones that we discussed at the top, we're certainly the ones to target.
All right, I want to go into some Coach of the Year stuff, offensive and defensive Rookie of the Year, and then comeback Player of the Year. Kind of get your general thoughts on how you would want to attack that market. So let's start with Coach of the Year. Are there specific guys that you're targeting, or is there a plan of action and how you would go about it? Because traditionally, this award is given to guys that are generally new head coaches, usually in year 1 or 2, that have these massive win jumps. Guys that go from 5 wins to 11 wins, something like that. So is that the way you want to play it? Or is there a team that you just think is going to have a breakout this year where the coach is going to get, a lot of credit for what they've done?
Generally speaking, I'd say that you're right. It is the ones that find a new destination and have a surge in victories. So, what team has the biggest growth opportunity is really what I'm looking at. I think the Miami Dolphins are one of those teams. I think that despite the Bills being the odds-on favorite to win the AFC, I think that the Miami Dolphins could still make a significant jump enough to warrant Mike McDaniel to possibly be an option here. And he's the second shortest odds at plus 1,600 right now. Josh McDaniels is interesting to me, mainly because he has a lot of name notoriety, and the Raiders, with the way that they've been in the market that they're in, if they could finish second in the division, I think that there's certainly going to be a case, or win the division. I think there's certainly going to be a case for him at plus 1,800. Doug Peterson
is that before you jump to Doug Peterson. Sorry, on McDaniels, is the plus 1,800? Are you just going to bet, if you wanted to bet it, just across the board on all Raiders stuff? So the Derek Carr over passing touchdowns, over passing yards to be MVP, Devontae Adams like offensive player of the year, McDaniels coach of the year, over on win totals, Super Bowl, all to win the division, like all that stuff across the board. Because in theory, they're all correlated. And if you're right on one, you're probably going to be right on more than one. I'm wondering if that's a good angle to attack any team that you are high on or low on, is just to kind of just go across the board.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's certainly, it definitely correlates. Am I willing to do it yet? So I don't know that I'm ready to pull the trigger on like a Devontae Adams offensive player of the year. I think there's so many weapons there that Derek Carr could still have a phenomenal season, and Josh McDaniels could still win coach of the year, even if Devontae Adams doesn't have the expected, Packers type of performance in production. So, but I think in theory, it does make sense. Certainly the quarterback with the coach of the year, I think that correlation definitely tracks.
So
the other one,
the McDaniels, McDaniels plus over win total, plus like odds to make the playoff, plus a sprinkle on them to win the division. Like that feels like probably the right place, right?
Right. Okay. Right. Absolutely. And I mean that you parlay those together, that the value on that is crazy.
Yeah. Give me the Doug Peterson one.
Yeah, so Doug Peterson, I think, is interesting. The Jaguars win total right now is at 6.5, and just going through their schedule, I think that I see a number of teams on here that I think that they could pull off victories over. So I do like their over 6.5, and that's a team that they've been talked about in fantasy, but not really talked about in real life. But I think Doug Peterson has the coaching pedigree, but also the quarterback to propel him to get into this conversation. Trevor Lawrence was not that good in year 1, obviously, because Urban Meyer was his head coach. But Doug Peterson is a quarterback's coach at heart. Like, that's where this guy got his start. And we saw him propel people like Nick Foles to a championship, and Carson Wentz going through that whole situation. I think that this is certainly going to be a good pick. They're in a really bad division. So I think that there's opportunity to potentially steal some wins there. But also, I just think that this team is going to take the next step up. They invested in their offense. They invested in their defense. They got Aiden Hutchinson there. They got Trayvon Walker there. They already had a decent defense before that. Just their offense was awful. So I think that they addressed the right pieces for Doug Peterson to step in them and take them from, a horrible team to a, middle of the road team. And if they can even sneak into the playoffs, I think that's a sure bet, because I don't think anyone expects that from the Jaguars.
I like the Doug Peterson one. I think he's going to do great things. I think there is a case to be made for the Jaguars over win totals. I think there's a case to be made for the Jaguars potentially to make the playoffs. I think that them to win the AFC South, where the teams are, and the Colts with Matt Ryan, I mean, maybe. I think the Jaguars are in a very interesting bet across the board in that division, given what else is going on. I think that my angle on coach of the year is very similar to yours. I'm looking for those new guys. I like the McDaniels one. I love Mike McDaniel. And I can see it because his offense is going to change so much of what they do that he may get a lot of credit for it. I just don't necessarily trust the rest of that team. I love the Doug Peterson one. The one that I really want, I think I talked about it last time, but the Vikings across the board bet and Kevin O'Connell, coach of the year, plus 2,000.
That's a really good one.
Along with the over 8.5 wins and then to plus 265 to win in the division. Justin Jefferson, offensive player of the year. Kirk Cousins will lead the league in passing. Kirk Cousins MVP maybe. That's the one I believe in the least. But I if I'm going all the way in, that would be my all the way in bet. But I do think that Kirk, to pass over his passing yard total, whatever. I think those could be good bets. So Kevin O'Connell plus 2,000 is the one that kind of stands out to me. But the Peterson one I think would be my second pick here. Down the board, I don't really see anyone I love. The one that stands out is like the maybe would be Eberflus, if he somehow does something with that Bears offense, even though he's a defensive-minded coach. If Justin Fields plays out of his mind, maybe there's something there, but I don't necessarily believe in what the Bears have going on. The other one, and I think this is probably selfish me, but like if Arthur Smith does anything productive with the Falcons, a team that everybody thinks is going to win 4 games this year, the division sucks, right? Like it's outside of Tampa Bay, there's no good teams. If Atlanta was somehow able to pull off like a random 9-win season and sneak into the playoffs, he has the longest odds on the board right now. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe. That's a lot of
This might be a Mariota love thing. I don't know.
That might be a lot of faith in your Ducks there. Man, I was just about to say, like, I was gonna bet them to have the worst record in the NFL. So it's hard for me to have faith in Arthur Smith. I think right now that's at plus 400. I think that's the second shortest odds to be the worst team in the NFL. I just don't see where they have the pieces. Like, unless they get another playmaker, like at the 11th hour, I think this team's gonna be bad, man. Marcus Mariota can't stay healthy, and when he's had a chance, he's always been like a middle of the road. Like, his accuracy isn't that great. He is dynamic, and maybe he's learned a lot, playing as a backup. But I don't think he's gonna last throughout the season. Eventually, they're gonna turn to Desmond Ridder. Who knows if he's ready? They just don't have enough weapons to get it done, and their defense was awful last year. So, like, where do they get better? I just don't see it. So, unless Arthur Smith is like the guru of all gurus here, I would love to see it happen just to add more chaos to that division. But it's just hard for me to get my arms around that one.
Fair enough. All right, I want to move over to comeback player of the year here for a second and pose this question: do you believe that comeback player of the year is an award that is given to a player who is coming off of an injury? That's generally where I go. When I think of comeback player of the year, I think of a good player who got injured, came back, and had a great season. However, a lot of the guys at the top of the board here are guys that have just stunk. But my point there is, what are you coming back from? You stunk. Why are you comeback player of the year? Like Daniel Jones is plus 800. That was one of the smallest bets in our thing. I get it. I think Daniel Jones is going to have a wonderful year this year. I think Brian Daboll is a great coach for him. And I think there's a chance that he performs really well. But what the hell is he coming back from? He's not a comeback player of the year. He stunk for 3 years.
Yeah, I'm actually of the opinion it's a player coming off an injury and more than likely going to be a quarterback. In recent years, that's been the MO. You go back last year, it was Joe Burrow coming off ACL. Alex Smith, I mean, that dude had to get the award. I mean, he had multiple leg surgeries. That thing was disgusting. Ryan Tannehill, I don't believe he was coming off an injury, but he had a new destination. No. Was he? He was not.
So that's he did what?
He didn't have an injury, right? He just changed teams.
He just went from Miami to Tennessee and took the job over from Mariota and played great.
Right.
That falls in the you haven't really been good category, and this is your first breakout season. But
he had to change teams in order to do that, not be on the same team and been awful. And it's like, oh wow, now you had a really good season. Like, yeah, I don't understand why Daniel Jones is actually even on the list, to be honest. What's he coming back from?
Why doesn't the NFL have a most improved award? That seems ridiculous.
Yeah, right. That's essentially what they're saying. Right. You're exactly right.
It should be 2 different awards. Why don't you have comeback player of the year? Great. It goes to the injured guy who performed the best next season. And most improved. Give it to anyone who's randomly became good. I like that.
Right. And like, NFL, I almost think that like, and like, so the other people on the list, like we haven't gone down it, but like Derrick Henry, he had he played for most of the season. He had more rushing yards than like probably over 70% of the NFL. Like, is he really going to be I mean, he's the odds on favorite right now. I mean, I think it's a smart money to bet on him if he can stay healthy. And I don't see why he wouldn't. He's only had one injury in his career so far. But I don't think he should be on the list. And then you got Jameis Winston, I think makes a lot of sense because he started out and only played 7 games last year towards ACL. That makes sense. Like, they were winning with him there. He got hurt. They lost. I think he makes sense, and he fits the bill of what we're describing of a player that got hurt and is a quarterback. After that, though, I think it gets interesting. CMC, I think he certainly qualifies because he just can't stay healthy. So I think if he can have a redemption season, I think he'd be a good bet. But it sounds like they're going to scale back his workload. That's what they say. I don't know if that's actually
also he's not going to stay healthy. So he's out for me.
Right? Yeah, you can't trust that. Definitely can't trust that. Michael Thomas, the next one after Daniel Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so Michael Thomas, obviously, a lot of injuries coming back, but if Jameis Winston's going to have a good season, a lot of it's probably going to go to Michael Thomas, and who's more likely to win the award? Jameis Winston or Michael Thomas? Jameis Winston. So if you're going to bet on that, just do Jameis Winston. Baker changed teams, so that it kind of makes
that. He has that going for him.
It does kind of make sense, but the other part is, like, you generally have to have a good story or some sort of good relationship with the media, and everyone in the media hates Baker Mayfield. So that probably wouldn't be my favorite bet. He does fit the bill a little bit. Trubisky changed teams, does a little bit. I don't think he's going to be the quarterback all year, so he's out for me. Deshaun Watson, the writers are not voting for Deshaun Watson.
Hell no.
Year. Get the fuck out of here. If I could fade the crap out of that bet, I would. That's so stupid that it's at plus 1200.
It's actually dumb that they even offered it, to be honest. Like, who the hell would ever? This guy overcame such adversity to win this award.
Oh my God. He got out of 30 lawsuits. Yay! Congrats on being able to pay great lawyers. Here's an award.
Oh my God.
Chase Young plus 1400. I don't think the defensive guy is winning this unless he comes out and has like a TJ Watt season, wins like defensive player of the year. Probably not happening. J.K. Dobbins. No, I'm generally just not going to do a running back here.
It's a timeshare.
I'm not going to do running back.
I don't know. I don't know how you can expect J.K. I mean, he could have a good season, but like, I don't know, just the Ravens and that. You have Lamar Jackson as the real rusher in that offense. So, I can't trust that one either.
Mariota, obviously, I'm going to nuke that bet, but there's no chance it comes home. But obviously, I'm going to bet it. Why am I not? I mean, his case is very similar to that Tannehill case. It's like he sat as a backup, changed teams. If he has a really good season and improves, if he rushes for like 1,000 yards, okay, maybe. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but he probably wouldn't be my favorite quarterback to bet on. But
no,
he does fit a mold to win. Cam Akers, he came back at the end of last season, so he's not winning. Allen Robinson is a really interesting one. If we're going to go off the board from quarterback, the fact that he was so bad and he's going to go to the Rams with high-profile market, everybody's going to be watching his games. He's going to slide into that Odell Beckham outside role. Teams are going to change their coverages towards Cooper Kupp. I think you and I both believe that Allen Robinson could be a fantasy stud this year. If he has, 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns, I could totally see this being a path for him to win the award this year.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best value on the board of the people that we talked about, mainly because, a wide receiver hasn't won since Keenan Allen in 2017. Before that, it was Jordy Nelson. With that offense and expecting Cooper Kupp to replicate what he did last year, I think Allen Robinson actually steps in probably the best role of anyone changing teams, not being a quarterback. So, if this is the bet and for how far down he is on the board, like that's the one I would grab. That's the value pick.
The other ones that kind of strike me down the board, Juju plus 2,500, maybe if he has a massive season with Kansas City, but he's not really, I wouldn't say that he's really coming back. He doesn't have a great story, right?
No, I mean, his stories usually usually around like TikTok and stuff. Like he's that, nah.
Godwin, if he comes back and has a massive season, maybe I could see that. Trey Lance is on the list. I don't know what he's coming back from, but cool. Plus 5,000. The last one on the list that makes any sort of sense to me, I don't think Odell's going to be back in time for him to really have an impact on this award. But
No.
Robert Woods is the number one wide receiver in Tennessee at plus 5,000 coming off of his injuries. Great story. I think that everybody in the universe felt terrible that he couldn't play. Obviously, a very well-respected player. Blocks his ass off. I think he's got a really nice story in Tennessee. It's just a matter of, how involved is he going to be and how healthy is he going to be? But at plus 5,000, which is the longest odds offered on DraftKings here, I don't hate that as kind of a flyer.
Yeah, he's torn his knee up before, and he came back with a vengeance. So, I think the age is the one thing that I have concerns about with Robert Woods. But I agree with you. He should step into a large target share with AJ Brown now out of there, and them right now starting Treylon Burks. Here's their top guy, and he hasn't. I believe the reports that I've read so far haven't been the best for him. So, I think Robert Woods as a veteran wide receiver who can play the slot or outside certainly could be good value too.
All right. Offensive rookie and defensive rookie of the year. Any guys that you're looking to target on here? I'll give mine off the top. Jalen Tolbert, plus 2,000, offensive rookie of the year, wide receiver for the Cowboys. Going to start from day one. Don't know when Michael Gallup's going to come back. Cowboys should, if they're smart, lean into the passing game more with Dak Prescott in his second year off the ankle injury. No Amari Cooper. We know CeeDee Lamb's going to be great, but Tolbert going to fit into the second slot really, really nicely. And guy that could have, 1,100, 1,200 yards as a rookie. I think Tolbert's an absolute smash spot at plus 2,000.
Yeah, the only person that I like more than Jalen Tolbert is Chris Olave at plus 1,200, only because I still have doubts on the status of Michael Thomas. Haven't heard much. He's still recovering from that ankle injury. Don't know if he's going to be 100%. If Jameis Winston is ready to go and he's the top receiver there, and Jarvis Landry will also be competing for targets, but I think Chris Olave does step into a nice little situation there with a quarterback like Jameis that, in the last season, just due to the lack of weapons on the outside, was being more conservative with the passing offense. But I think they're going to open that up a little bit more now that they have potentially three really good wide receivers there. So I like Chris Olave. Breece Hall, can't ignore him. I think he's just going to step into a workhorse-like role with the Jets. The Jets will probably be improved on offense. Their offensive line is much better. Zach Wilson should take the MILF Hunter should take a step up in year two. And they have a really explosive offense. 4 wide receivers that can certainly be of value. So I think that's just only going to open up rushing lanes for Breece Hall. They're not going to be able to stack the box at all. So I think he could actually have a really good season at plus 750. One other dark horse I'm going to throw out there, Dameon Pierce at plus 2,000. I think he's going to emerge as the Houston Texans running back. He's competing against the likes of Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead. I just think he's going to end up winning out here. He's the young back. They got him at a good, decent draft pick in terms of capital. So would they get him in like the 5th round? I think it was. So I think that he can easily beat out 2 guys that are one's coming off an injury, serious injury, an Achilles injury, and the other one that's just old at this point. So I think this is going to be the new young regime for the Houston Texans here with Davis Mills, Dameon Pierce, and then also you got a couple rookies out there along with Brandon Cooks. So I think this offense is going to be much better than it was last year.
2 guys way down the board that I would put like $20 on just to have fun, but I think kind of fit a mold of guys, some guy who could break out. Tyler Algier plus 5,000 as the Atlanta
you
Atlanta
love
Falcons
these Falcons,
bruh.
You love these Falcons.
Look, if Cordarrelle Patterson is going to play more at wide receiver, there's no other running back really in Atlanta that's going to have impact the way that Algier could. So if we're looking at a guy who could potentially get 200 plus carries and put up 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, I don't think he's a particularly outstanding player, but he's going to have the role and responsibilities potentially where you put him into where he's, plus 5,000, he's way undervalued at that point. The other one,
I'd be concerned about
going to be a guy
a little bit with him, but I get what you're saying. It's about the opportunity they could get.
The other one, and this it would have to be in like the Anquan Bolden mode, and I don't know if there's enough target share there. It may require an injury, but I loved Khalil Shakir coming out of Boise State. Obviously, we know that the Bills are going to pass the shit out of the ball. Jamison Crowder, good slot receiver, but also old. We don't know if he's going to be healthy. He hasn't been healthy the last couple of years. Gabe Davis, we all expect to have this massive breakout season. We'll see. I love Gabe Davis, but I don't know yet. Stephon Diggs, obviously, is going to be Stephon Diggs, so it probably require an injury from one of those two. But if one of them goes down, Shakir can definitely fill in. I just think that the target at plus 10,000, it may be more my own justification on the player rather than a good bet. But I do think, given the fact that how much they're going to pass the ball, if one of those wide receivers goes down, I think he could be an absolute smash at plus 10,000 here.
Yeah, I think that many of these players that are listed on here, especially the running backs, I think are the ones that are injury away type guys, like Ken Walker III. I think he's interesting because Rashad Penny can never stay healthy. He could jump into a role, and it's really about the opportunity and production here for this award here. I think it's easy to just label it a quarterback award for those but there's no starting quarterbacks that are really going to jump in there that, unless Kenny Pickett starts at day one, like I think he'd probably be run away with the award just by the sheer opportunity of it. But Breece Hall, three down back, I think makes sense. But James Cook, if Devin Singletary goes down, he's another guy that could step in there and potentially be a runaway with this award as well, just given the offense that they're in and the opportunity that he would have playing alongside Josh Allen and the others.
Do you think that there's any guy on the defensive rookie defensive rookie of the year? Is there any particular guy that you are targeting in that market? I have two. One of them is the favorite. I think that Thibodeau comes in. That Martindale defense is perfect for him. I think, and the sack totals are going to be eye-popping, and you're in New York. Like, just the narrative around that probably makes a lot of sense. He's going to get a lot more publicity, especially with his mouth, than Aiden Hutchinson is going to get playing Detroit. So Thibodeau makes a lot of sense to me at plus 550. But the other guy down the board that I really like is Kyrie Elam. Just going to be playing on such a good team. He's going to have such a big role. Plus 2,000 for Elam to win Rookie of the Year. But weird for cornerback because you kind of have to fill up the stat sheet. And I don't know if he can do that. So maybe this is more of a defensive line type of winner this year.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to come from the defensive line. Thibodeau is interesting to me because the NFC East certainly has some opportunity for him to rack up some stats there. Except against the Eagles. I think everyone else's line is pretty suspect. So Trayvon Walker is also kind of interesting to me because if we're expecting the Jaguars to take that leap, I think he's certainly going to be a part of that leap because they're going to have to play that defense. And they already have exceptional edge rushers. So if you add another one in there, I think he could get to the quarterback. If he can get anywhere close to 10 sacks, I think he's probably a good bet for the award. I want to bet on a cornerback, but I mean, it's going to have to take 5 or 6, 7 interceptions for them to outpace a DN that can get 10 sacks. It's just typically not a cornerback award. But I do like the edge rushers. So Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, I don't really see it. I think I like Thibodeau's situation a little bit better. Just because he can shine a little bit more because the Detroit defense was actually already okay last year. So, just getting another guy. I don't know if you think Aiden's going to be that guy, but I think Thibodeau is going to have more success in year one. I'm not really strong on a lot of these guys here. I kind of got to see how this shakes out, especially in training camp, and see who's winning matchups, who can't be stopped, in double teams, who's picking off the quarterbacks in a really good offense, those types of things. So I'm probably going to make this bet closer to the preseason.
All right. I think we're going to save the full player prop list for the next podcast, but I want to run through. All right, I'm going to give Small some shit about what her picks. No, actually, most of them were good. The NFL ones, there were a couple of college ones in here, so I'm going to pass those. But NFL ones that she made. Rams to win the NFC plus 500. How do we feel about that?
That's fine. I'm good with that.
Kayvon Rookie of the Year we just talked about, plus 550. We love that pick. Great job, Smalls, on that one. Drake London, Offensive Rookie of the Year, staying on the Falcons theme, plus 750.
You like that?
Don't hate
Actually,
it.
I don't know if you're a fan of. You can't be a fan of Drake London. He's a USC guy, but also it just falls into if you think that Mariota could be comeback player of the year and Algier's going to be offensive rookie of the year, like Drake London's probably going to be doing something.
Arthur Smith, coach of the year. Falcons to make the playoffs. I see
The
it.
correlation you never knew that you would hear on this podcast right there.
Oh my God. We're so into it. I love it. Vikings to win the NFC North plus 265.
Love
she
that.
did a great job on that one.
That's
I know
the
that
best
we like
bet
that one
right there. Yeah.
Comeback player of the year, Daniel Jones. She got plus 1,000.
Ugh.
We talked about it earlier. We don't like that, but she is a Giants freak, so we got it. It made total sense. We got it. Handing over the reins to her to do the draft, I knew that we would get a Giants one in there. We got two, but I liked one of them. Cowboys to win the NFC plus 750. I thought this was her worst pick.
Yeah, I don't like the Cowboys. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Cowboys this year. I think that they'll be fine. They'll make the playoffs, but to win NFC East, I think that their team is not built enough on both sides of the ball to be able to do that.
Kirk Cousins over 4,200.5 passing yards. I think we both really like that one too.
Smash that.
Yeah. And then Chargers to win the AFC West plus 220.
Man, that's a tough division, man. I'm not mad at the bet. I think it's certainly. I'm not mad at the bet. I'm not mad. It's good.
I also think that she might have snuck that one in for me because she knows how I feel about Herbert. So, I think looking back once again, I think that she did a really, really nice job. The only two that stand out to me is like, no, I wouldn't have bet that was Cowboys to win the NFC and DJ comeback player of the year. Watch that DJ one come through though. It's gonna be super spicy. She's going to be yelling at me about it all year. This is going to be like, DJ's comeback player of the year. Here it comes.
But I'm still confused. I'm just confused about the criteria. Like we need to write a note to the NFL. Like what is he overcoming? Horrible offensive line play for his entire rookie contract, I guess. I don't. Sorry for not giving you Saquon Barkley.
You're coming back from being dealt the players that Dave Gettleman gave you? Okay. I mean, I can make that point. That's fine.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to do season-long player props next time. I already told you the Brady one. I got a lot more. All right. So that does it for this episode of Gambling with Gold. This will be out on YouTube shortly and cut up into some nice bits for social media. Dan, until we talk next, good luck with all your bets. Can't wait to join Circa contest with you. Maybe get a little spicy this season. And coming August 1st, I believe that we're going to start our divisional previews like we did last year. Those will run through until the start of the NFL regular season on September 8th. That's it. We'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Peace.